Life is full of challenges. Are you ready for them? Hey Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Kylene. And today our subject is a little bit unique and close to home. So a lot of times we're talking about preparing for all kinds of the possibilities that life could throw your way, like disasters, like earthquakes or winter storms or all kinds of things like that. But sometimes we don't talk about just everyday challenges that are actually, the probability of them happening to you is quite high. Things like hospitalization or divorce or sickness or death or loss of employment. All these different things can really impact your everyday life, and the chance that something's going to happen to you is actually pretty big.
It actually is, and we're going to share with you some of the components of our personal preparedness plan, things that we have put in place to help make sure we can get through any kind of crisis. Now, some are more difficult than others, but all of them present their own set of challenges. And if we've taken a few steps to mitigate those, life goes a lot better. So in this video, we're going to talk about some of these things and how you might implement them in your life as well.
And we're going to get a little bit personal, so you may want to forgive us, but think about the way that this could apply to you in your life. But it was only a little bit over a month ago when I was having an MRI for my MS, and they actually found a mass on my kidney, and the risk of it being a cancer was 80%. So within that 1 month period of time, I went from discovering that I had a mass to being at the hospital and having it removed. And so, you never know when something like this is going to happen. So we're going to use a lot of examples that are near and dear to our heart. So if you've been missing some of our videos recently, that's why. I've been
pretty much
under the weather.
Down. Yeah.
Okay, so we have 6 different categories that we think would be very beneficial to work on, and there are things that we have implemented into our lives. And the first one is to build strong community relationships.
And I don't know if it's the male in me or if it's just me, but I tend to think that, I'm just fine by myself. I don't need anyone else. And yet when I really think about it and when I look at life experiences, it's always been more important for me to have friends than to be alone. There are events that I've gone through that I really needed people there to help me. And it goes the other way around. I need to be there to help others as well.
And we kind of discovered that a little bit when they first found this mass, because before we knew for sure what was going on, we didn't tell anyone except for our children, because we felt like that was really important, but we asked them not to tell anyone outside of the home. Once we had that second MRI and we'd spoken to the surgeon and we knew exactly where we were going to go with this, then we shared that information. And it was interesting how difficult it was to process all that, like on my own, without being able to talk to anybody except for John, because this is really concerning, right? This is a really tough challenge. But our network of friends is amazing, because we have friends from just our neighborhood, we have church friends, we have work friends, and even my online friends in this community have been incredibly helpful for us. But it's amazing, and it's funny how all the different personalities reach out and help you, because we've got all kinds of things, flowers, and dinners were brought in, chocolate and caramel popcorn, which you can't see anymore because they have disappeared.
It was good.
But one of our prepper friends brought me this huge bag of onions instead of flowers, and I thought that was so sweet, because they truly know me, right? We have all these peppers for winter, but we'd already used our garden onions, and I needed more onions. So anyway, and you build those relationships by working on them all the time. I've taken all kinds of dinners to people. We've gone and done service projects at different people's houses, and we've shared things. And so really find those relationships in your life, build them, reach out, because sometimes you have to be the first one to put forth. But with this network of people that we have, if we have a big disaster like an earthquake or some type of a major event, we've got this community in place, And we just all work together to make it easier for all of us to survive.
Exactly right. The second category we want to talk about is proactively maintaining our health and our strength. Take care of things that need to be done. Make sure we get them done. Now, with Mama's tumor here, the doctors actually said, you know, you've got some time if you don't want to do this right now. But we looked at the whole situation and said, you know, we don't know how this might look in the future. We don't know how fast it might grow. Let's get it done now. Let's just take care of it and be done with it. And we were really glad that we did. And so take care of whatever needs to be done. Let's get it done, take care of it, and then you can move on.
Yeah, because if you remember when the pandemic hit, they weren't doing any type of elective procedures at all. And when our healthcare is overwhelmed with just taking care of sick people, then some of these kinds of things that could be very deadly just can't be taken care of. So that was a huge thing in our decision making, was that, hey, we have an opportunity to do it now. We have insurance. I'm still in decent health. Let's get this done. Yeah. The second thing we want to talk about is eating right, right? It's so important to eat a really nutritious diet for your health and your strength, and to avoid addictive substances that both drain on your financial resources as well as, you know, make you ill. So, now, chocolate, of course, could not fall into that category of addictive substances.
That's a health food.
Yeah. No, we're talking about everything in the world besides chocolate.
That's right. The third thing we want to recommend is exercise. Get out and get some exercise. Be active. These things help us to stay young and really help us to stay healthy.
Yeah, and we've started lifting weight, right? So we've always walked, and we walk a lot. But we started doing some lifting, and that has been really fun because our kids are big into that, but now the old folks are getting into that too. And another thing is sunshine. You know, vitamin D is so important. Get out and get some sunshine every day because that will help you maintain your health.
Yep. And keep a backup supply of medications that you might need, whether it's for the cold and flu or other more chronic kinds of things, whatever it is. Make sure you have a backup supply that can carry you through a crisis.
And keeping a supply of just the basic over-the-counter meds. In fact, I'll put a link in the description of this video to one that we had created, but I had opted not to use any pain meds after surgery other than ibuprofen and Tylenol. And I was able, with this, I mean, this is a pretty major surgery. I was able to maintain and control my pain well enough just by using those two medications. And a lot of times during this, I thought, what if I didn't have this? What if I didn't have it? And so make sure that you keep a stock of that, right?
Absolutely. Our third category is that of mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Things that are very, very important. One of those is a life balance, a balance between work and play. And I don't do that well. My family will testify that I work too much
all the time.
And I don't play enough. I don't do my hobbies enough, and I need to fix that. So that's something that I'm working on.
Yeah, and make the time to be well, right? It's hard when we have these busy lives to take that time to exercise or that time to work on your hobbies or do whatever you need to do so that you can reset your balance. But it's so important.
And know when enough is enough. I mean, the big question we always get is, when am I prepared enough? Well, you know, you need to do what you can do and then let it go. The important thing is that we're making steady steps. If we're making steady steps, then that's enough. We don't have to overwhelm ourselves or overdo any area of our lives. Keep it in balance.
And then the final one is very personal for me, and this may not apply to you, but for me, my relationship with God is really important. When we first received this diagnosis and we didn't know, and we thought, you know, it's possible that I might not be around that much longer. It was interesting how I was able to just let it go and put it in God's hands, right? I had great peace going into all of this. I had no idea what the outcome was going to be, but I was okay with it. So if you're in a position with your relationship with God where you can just turn it over to Him, life can be so much better.
Our fourth area is that of financial stability. It is so important that we live within a budget and that we pay off debt as soon as we can, and really work towards eliminating all debt.
And that may mean that you just can't live the kind of lifestyle that you would like to live, because there's so much peace that comes from staying within that budget, even if your budget is very small. Another thing that's really important is to improve your skills and marketability. Take every opportunity that you can to learn new skills, so that if something happens in your current job, then you're able to transition to something different, and it won't be as big of a financial impact on your family. We talked about this before, how I was working at a power plant, and my MS just was making it so that Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day, I just couldn't do that, which meant that caused a problem for our family, right? But because we were willing to learn other things and put ourselves out there, we're still able to support our family and yet still manage my disability.
Right. Another component is having an active savings program. And this is going to go up and down a little bit depending on what life hands you. But having some savings makes a huge difference. I remember back in 2008 watching some of my friends go under financially because they didn't have any reserve. They were spending right to the limit. They didn't have anything in savings, so it didn't take much to topple them. And so make sure that you have some savings, some reserve to draw on, and also make sure that you're giving back. I think about Dave Ramsey, and he talks about one of the foundational things in financial management is to give back. Whether you call it a tithe or whether you just give to good causes, making sure that you're giving back to this world is a really important thing. Number 5 is building skills and education. And we talked about this a little bit in the previous step, but this is important not just for our financial stability, but for our overall health and well-being. We need to make sure that we're learning new things. And these things can help us both get through a crisis. It can help us financially, but learn some new skills. Expand your mind. See what's going on in the world. Whether it's online or whether you go to school, find some ways to expand your mind, to learn more, and to create new skills.
And that's one of the things that we're trying to do with our channel. We're trying to be a resource to you to build your skills and knowledge. I am right now working on our indoor garden, and it's a little bit behind because of the surgery, so I'm a little bit sad about that. But I'm trying to get everything planted. It's a learning curve because for so much of my life I've just been doing outdoor, right? But this is really great because last year we had a really successful one, but there is a learning curve. And so I'm reading and I'm learning, and there's all kinds of different things that you can do to be able to become more self-reliant. And that is our goal, to be self-reliant so that we are in a better position to take care of ourselves and those around us.
And our 6th topic is that of your home storehouse, basically. Your security that your needs are going to be met. And this starts out with a 3-month supply. We always recommend that you work up to a 3-month supply of everyday foods that you eat.
That just means, right, your pantry. So you've got this big pantry where you might want to visit our videos that we made when we did the challenge where we didn't go to the grocery store for 3 months. We survived without going to the grocery store. But we're just talking about everyday foods that you put on your shelf, those canned foods and packaged items or whatever that you need to be able to survive for 3 months.
Yes, and then you add to that, and don't get overwhelmed because this is a step-by-step process, but then we want to include a longer-term supply of basic foods that can keep us fed. Things like rice and beans and all these kinds of things that will last a long time and that will sustain us over a crisis.
And drinking water. Okay, it's super important that you have drinking water stored in your home, and we have all kinds of videos that talk about that, but that is a huge protection because you can't live for very long if you don't have clean water. And then basic supplies, just things like toilet paper and toothpaste and soap. And if you remember at the beginning of the pandemic, what happened? Everybody freaked out and you couldn't buy toilet paper. You couldn't buy hand soap or any disinfectants or anything like that. And if you've got just a store, we're not talking about going crazy. We're just talking about making sure that you have a supply inside your home of these items. Then you can kind of be like we were at the beginning of the pandemic, where you could just sit back and watch what was going on, because our basic needs were met, right? And we didn't have to be a drain on the system when other people were just having a real hard time coping with what was happening.
Right.
And then my favorite part. Okay. Part of self-reliance is growing whatever you can grow to be able to provide some of your own food. And that might mean that you live in a little apartment and the only thing that you can do is grow some tomatoes on a balcony, or grow some kind of cucumbers or lettuce in front of a sunny window. But having the tools, first of all, and the knowledge and whatever resources you need to be able to do that can make all the difference in your life. So, and that whole sunshine piece of it, and I know that I'm a crazy plant lady and I know that I love being outside, but it really does make me feel better and increase my health. I'm so much healthier when I'm able to get outside.
The bottom line here is that life is going to throw us some curveballs. We're going to have some bombs dropped on us, and sometimes they come at the most inopportune times, but that's the nature of our lives. Just before we found out about Mama's need for a surgery, Kenny also found out that she needed to have surgery on her ankle, that she had a congenital defect that was causing her problems. And so all these things just kind of have a way of happening, and our ability to deal with that depends on what we do today. Our preparations that we make a huge difference in how all this comes out. And one of the most important things that we've learned is the value of community, the value of having friendships and relationships that we can give back and forth to each other as needed.
We have been so blessed with community, and we are incredibly grateful for all of our friends and our family who have been so kind and generous in helping us. And that's part of our goal. We want to nurture those relationships so that when we're in times where we're not the one that's suffering, we can reach out and we can bless the lives of others. And I truly believe that regardless of what happens, if we stick together as a community and we build these relationships and we are selfless and sacrifice and give to each other, right? That we're going to be able to conquer anything, regardless of what happens. It's going to be tough. I'm not saying it's going to be easier to walk in the park, but we're going to be able to get through this together.
Absolutely. And that includes you. You have been a part of our community, and we appreciate the things that we share together. And so now for the question of the day. What steps are you taking to make sure that you're prepared for life's events? Comment below.
And thanks for being part of the solution.